Is the Samsung Galaxy A52 worth buying in 2021? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. What's going on, guys? KalipezTech here, coming back at you with another video. Today, we're gonna be taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy A52 and seeing how worth it this phone is in 2021. Let's get started. So this phone has a 6.5-inch Super AMOLED display with a 90 Hz refresh rate. We have a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 407, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen to body ratio of 84.6%. We got a hole punch up here for the front facing camera, and this camera is 32 megapixels. Right now, I do have the brightness at 100% and it looks really good, as you would expect from a Super AMOLED display with a 1080p resolution. The phone is not the thinnest phone out there, but it does have a nice, sleek, modern look that I really like. And the back is made of a matte material, so there's no worry about getting a bunch of fingerprints all over it. Overall, this design is one that I'm a big fan of. For storage, we're getting 128 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion, so that's really a whole lot. For an average user, you're probably never gonna have to worry about storage. Even if you're more of a power user, the microSD card is gonna help with photos and videos, so if you shoot a lot of those, videos take up a lot of space especially, but you can put them on a microSD card, so it's good to be able to do that with this phone. And then for everything else, high performance games and other apps that take up a lot of space, you're gonna be able to fit a lot of that in the storage on the phone itself. So for most users, this is gonna be plenty of storage. In a lot of cases, way more than enough. Now there's no wireless charging on this phone, but we do have a fingerprint scanner and face unlock. The fingerprint scanner is actually right here in the display, really fast and responsive as well, and it has a nice modern look. Let's try that one more time. There we go. As you can see, really fast and responsive, no problems there. I personally prefer in-display fingerprint scanners over the external ones, even though when they're on the power button, they can be a little bit faster. It just looks so much nicer and cleaner having it in the display instead. We actually got a quad camera set up on the back here with the 64 megapixel rear camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. Real good stuff. There's pretty much nothing in the way of camera features this phone doesn't have. Right here, we got an image taken from the rear camera of this phone, and as you can see, it's really good quality. This picture was taken in slightly unusual lighting too, and it still handled it really well. The colors all look good, the details are sharp, pretty much nothing wrong with this picture. So you can see if you really value a good camera, whether you're taking pictures for social media or something a little bit more serious, it's gonna get the job done. This is a picture taken from the macro camera. Now, I'm not a big macro camera user myself, but I can definitely respect a good quality macro camera, and this phone definitely has that. Those close-up details are really sharp and look really good. For video, this phone can shoot in 4K in both the rear and the front cameras. So if you do want to get that extra step up in video quality, this phone's gonna be a good option because it actually does shoot 4K videos, which is a really good advantage if you're shooting lots of videos and want to make them as good as you can. And this phone's video capabilities and the storage really go hand in hand because 4K takes up a ton of space, and this phone does have a lot of space as far as the storage goes, so it's good to see those two features complement each other. Internally, this phone's getting 6 gigabytes of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 720G processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone, and it came back with a single core score of 538 and a multi-core score of 1559. Not bad at all. It's going to be able to handle lots of your daily activities. If you're doing basic mobile things like sending text messages, making calls, browsing the web, going on social media, that kind of thing, it's going to be able to handle that effortlessly. Content consumption is going to be real good. And when it comes to gaming, I actually do have several videos demonstrating the gaming capabilities of this phone. I will put those in the description below. But this phone can handle basic games like Fruit Ninja, Angry Birds, that kind of thing with no problem. And it can handle a little bit more intense games like PUBG Mobile pretty well too. Now, I wouldn't recommend trying to play something super high performance like Fortnite on this phone, because as you will see in my Fortnite demonstration on this channel, it does lag quite a bit to the point where gameplay just really isn't good. But for the more basic games, you will be able to do those just fine. And for stuff like video editing that's not super graphics intensive per se, but does take up a lot of RAM, I still think that that's going to be perfectly fine on a phone like this. This phone has a 4500 milliamp hour battery that supports 25 watt fast charging, so not bad at all. You're going to get good battery life out of this, and not only that, but the fast charging also helps too. If you don't have time to sit around waiting for your phone to charge all day, then this is going to benefit you. Now, a couple other features this phone has that you might not get in other mid-level phones like it is, first of all, it has NFC, the technology behind Google Pay, and although that's becoming more and more common with other phones that aren't flagship phones or high-end phones, it's still not everywhere, so it's good to see it on this one. It allows you to use contactless payment services, which is pretty important since more and more people are using those services. Another thing this phone has that's pretty unique for a mid-level phone is dust and water resistance. The water resistance on this phone goes up to 1 meter for 30 minutes, so it's pretty impressive. You typically see that on flagship phones, not so much mid-level phones like this, so that is really impressive on this phone. So that is pretty impressive. Now, in conclusion, is the Samsung Galaxy A52 worth buying in 2021? I would definitely say so. In pretty much every category, the features are impressive, especially for being a mid-level phone. With a 6.5-inch display, it is decently large. It's not the biggest phone out there. The Samsung Galaxy A52, for example, is noticeably bigger than this, but it's going to get the job done and it's going to give you a good experience. A 90Hz Super AMOLED display means the colors are going to be a lot brighter than something like an LCD display. Not only that, but the 90Hz refresh rate is going to make the movement on the screen a lot smoother and faster, and if you're trying to do any type of gaming or content consumption like video streaming, that's going to come in handy quite a bit. As you can see here, the scrolling is noticeably faster than you might expect on other devices. The storage is really impressive on this phone. More and more phones are getting larger storage since the system and apps and pretty much everything is all getting bigger nowadays. But at the same time, 128 gigabytes is still really good. The camera is really impressive, and being able to shoot in 4K is super useful if you have any focus on videos. And then of course, the processor is pretty impressive. If you're trying to do really high performance things like playing Fortnite or something, then you might be disappointed. But keep in mind, this is still a mid-level phone. It's not a flagship phone. So definitely don't expect Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra type performance, because this phone is not at that level. But other than that, the processor is honestly pretty good. And then the battery is definitely on the larger side too. All this combined with the extra features like NFC, dust and water resistance, and that sort of thing, make this phone one that provides a ton of value in 2021. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.